Welcome back to Creating Realistic MIDI Performances, class dedicated to helping you make the most out of your sound libraries. So far in the series, we've been focusing on building our orchestral template. In the previous videos, we've learned about selecting which sound libraries you plan to use, how to properly route your tracks, and how to adjust mic positions, if available and needed for your libraries. The next step is to address panning and to begin building the stereo field for your orchestra. Panning has to do with creating the illusion of a physical location for each instrument in your mix. In the simplest terms, whether the sounds seem to be coming from the left, or the right, or somewhere in between. It can be useful to look at an orchestra seating chart in order to better understand our reasoning for panning. You see, every instrument in this chart has a very specific location they take on stage. These locations have an impact on how each instrument is heard by the audience, which is what we will call the stereo field. The stereo field has two parts, width and directionality. Stereo width refers to how much space a sound will take up in the stereo field. For example, a solo brass instrument like the trumpet will have a narrower width than a full violin section. The sound of the brass player comes from a single musician sitting on a very specific spot on stage, while the sheer number of violin players will take up much more space on stage as it comes from a group of up to 16 different musicians, not just one. Stereo direction has more to do with where the sound is located on stage from left to right. Of the two, stereo direction tends to be the easiest and most important to manipulate. Width will largely be controlled for by things like mic positions or the types of libraries you use. After all, a violin section patch will sound much wider than a violin solo patch. While there are some plugins like Waves S1 or 2C precedents which can help, if you focus on just figuring out your stereo direction, you'll get about 80% of the way there, which is more than enough for our purposes. If you're working with instrumental music, this process is simple enough. Step number one is to determine whether the sound libraries or track you're working with are pre-panned or not. You see, some sound libraries and recordings will sound pre-panned just by the virtue of how they were recorded. If you know which library you're working with, you can always Google it to see if it's pre-panned or not. But if you'd rather use your ears, you can use the simple headphone test. Just wear your headphones while listening to your tracks, and as you listen, take turns lifting up one side and then the other to see if there's any difference. If they both sound equally loud, the library is probably not pre-panned. But if one ear sounds louder than the other, it's probably a pre-panned library. For example, here is my Albion 1 string patch, which is a non-panned library. Let's try the earphone test right now to see how that sounds. If you don't have headphones or earbuds already, go ahead and get some hooked up and give it a listen. Next, we can listen to Cinestrings Pro with Musio, which is a panned library. Hear the difference? Hopefully you do. As a disclaimer, you can still apply panning to pre-panned libraries in order to get the sound you want. They probably just won't require as strong of an influence compared to non-panned libraries. More on this in a bit. But once you know what kind of libraries you're working with, step number 2 is to decide how you would like to pan your libraries. Here, I'm going to recommend 3 basic approaches. The easiest is to use your DAW's built-in panning utility, which can usually be found in your mixing console. Option number 2 is to use a standalone plugin, something like 2C from Precedents, Waves S1, or any other number of decent options. And option 3 is to use the panning utilities built right into your library itself, if available, which not all libraries will have. For example, most Spitfire libraries do allow you to control the panning, while many Musio libraries won't. There are arguments for and against each option. Standalone plugins tend to be a bit more powerful, but they demand much more resources from your computer, and projects with lots of tracks can very quickly get overwhelmed with the amount of RAM and processing power required. The panning utilities built into your DAW tend to be a little less powerful, but significantly easier on your computer. And the panning utilities built into your libraries tend to be designed with the specific needs and sounds of the library in mind. But the methods used for panning can vary between different libraries, resulting in slight discrepancies between libraries, if you're working with multiple different options. In this video, I will make sure to provide demonstrations of each of these three options so you can hear for yourself the kind of impact they have. Regardless of the method you choose, step 3 is to start panning. If you are working with strictly instrumental music, this step is pretty straightforward. Find an orchestral seating chart, and then try to imitate the positions for each instrument in your arrangement. I usually work left to right, so I'll start with my first violins. I will start by listening to the library soloed. Since the violins are situated on the left side of the stage, I need to start moving them slightly to the left, experimenting with different degrees of panning until I can hear a noticeable difference. Usually the very moment I can think, ooh, yep, that suddenly felt like a shift, is where I stop. Let's do this one together. Here I'm going to sustain a pitch of C natural on my first violins, and then slowly start using the built-in panning utility of my DAW to move it to the left. Ooh, right there. All right, so that right there is the moment where, to me, it felt like there was a definitive shift to the left. About L30 is what it is. Since that's the moment where I could definitively say, yes, that sound is coming from my left, that's when I stopped. If you do the headphone test real quick, you'll notice that there is still audio coming from both my left and my right headphones. The main difference now is that my left side is noticeably stronger. As you can see, this step is a matter of personal preference. If I had additional tracks doubling up my first violins across multiple different libraries, for example, using Albion 1, or perhaps my Spitfire Studio Strings library, I would use this patch, the one I just panned, as my reference, playing back and forth and panning my second library until it sounded like they were coming from the same basic direction, helping make sure that each of my other libraries are situated similarly. Again, the focus here is on my ears and what sounds similar, and not necessarily the number on the screen, since the panning for different libraries can be significantly different depending on whether they are pre-panned or not panned. Once I have my first violin situated, I would then move on to my second violins, which need to be situated a little closer to the center, using the track I just panned as reference. There we go. That's a subtle difference, but to me that sounds good. I would then continue this process until I have successfully panned each member of my string section. I would then take the same approach to my woodwinds, making sure that I use my orchestral seating chart as a reference, again, trusting my ears, to find a good spot for each track across the stereo field. If you are a much more technically minded musician and you hate the idea of having to quote-unquote trust your ears, and if you are using libraries of the same family, in this case, using all Cinesamples libraries from Musio, you can use your ears to establish the far left and far right instruments. For example, figure out your first violins and then figure out your basses. These are the extreme panned instruments. This gives you your full range. For example, L30 being my first violins, and maybe R30 being my basses. You can then use that range and try to divide it mathematically between the various instruments in your orchestra. The trick is, once you've divided everything and found the starting points, still go back and trust your ears, making slight adjustments as necessary to create the separation and unique position you want for each instrument. With all of this in mind, let's listen very quickly to an example of our flute section panned using each of the 3 different strategies discussed earlier. First, let's listen to the basic vanilla non-panned version, which in Spitfire Studio ones is technically pre-panned. As we can see, the flutes and piccolo are located slightly to the left in the orchestra. Option number 1 is the built-in panner in my DAW. Option number 2 is using a dedicated plugin like 2C Precedence. And option number 3 is using the panner built into the library itself. As you can see, the differences are very subtle. If you feel particularly passionate about a particular plugin, go for it, but for the most part, use the option that makes the most sense to you. But for the most part, they are fairly comparable, so use the option that makes the most sense to you. This step can be time-consuming, but it should be relatively straightforward. However, it can become a little more complex if you introduce non-instrumental elements like singers or synthesizers. For these, you want to keep in mind a very simple rule. Tracks with similar frequencies should be panned in opposite directions. For example, if you add a synthesizer and it's playing in the same basic range as a violin, as your first violins, well, you should probably try panning it further to the right, so it's on the opposite side of your mix. If you're not quite sure if 2 instruments are sharing the same frequencies, you can use a spectrum analyzer to determine whether they share any overlap. The reason why you want to pan these instruments separately has to do with something called frequency masking, a phenomenon where a loud sound at one frequency can hide or cover up quieter sounds at nearby frequencies. Panning helps clean this up a little bit so it doesn't muddy up or dirty your sound. If you really like getting into the weeds and having more control over your width, and you have a plugin capable of manipulating this sort of material, you can use a similar process. On screen right now, you'll see a page from chapter 34 of my textbook, The Musical Storyteller. This chapter is all about mixing, and the list on screen provides a general starting point for each instrument of the modern orchestra. You can either screenshot this as a reference for later, or if you want to support the channel, you can grab your own copy of the entire book using the link below. Coupon code COMPOSER, all caps, will get you 20% off at checkout. And with that, let's take a break so you can go practice what we've learned. Go check out the arrangement you're working with and experiment with adjusting the panning of each track as necessary. It's a time-consuming process, but it will have a massive impact on the sound of your final mix. I want to take a quick moment to thank my patrons, channel members, and generous donors who helped make this new series possible. I appreciate each of you more than you know. You can help support future videos by joining as a member or by purchasing one of the ebooks and instructional manuals available on my website. I also offer private lessons on a limited basis. More information can be found with the link below. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. I will see you in the next video.